Hey everybody, welcome back to Champ and Sons and our NCAA 14 college football revamped series as we are the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Volunteers. Now, part of being the offensive coordinator and with this game is you still have to do recruiting. So this is basically our mid-season recruiting special. And the loss to Georgia didn't impact us as much as I was expecting it to be honest. Um, Now, looking at some of these guys that we're going after, like I said, we had to be in the top five for most people, and so really, I never put in a huge amount of points on individuals if we weren't either within striking distance of being the number one, or we weren't in number one. They got limited points, if any, at all, depending on where we landed. Some of them, it's one of those you kind of just hope that, hey, maybe performance-wise turns the tide on them. But anytime you have guys that are putting Syracuse ahead of you, lower level teams they put them ahead of you, then you're not going to really have much of a chance. Like Robert Robinson, Vandy was his main spot, and they offered him, and I guess he decided to accept it. So there wasn't much of a point in sticking with him. So we did remove him off. And ideally, those that got the most points were generally the higher rated individuals that we had that had interest in our school. And we were, like I said, either in striking distance of the league or we were in the league. Now, some of these lower level guys you still wanted. Now, Carl Pryor, athletes, I always really want to keep athletes, and I do try to recruit them a little bit harder just because of where they can land, knowing the versatility that comes with having someone under the athlete classification. That's one of those things that really does play a big role for us. Now, the 66 overall defensive end, he's not as high as we'd like, and he's only a 3-star prospect. But to make sure we have our defense covered, no, he probably wouldn't play for the first year as it was. And we got some other talent coming in that same position as well. Now, I do put some points on him just to try to get us over the hurdle of Georgia Tech, right? We only 50 points behind, so try to get us over that. Offensive line is something we did need to try and make a focus. So we have some higher rated guys that we put a lot of points to. Josh Davis, he wants Missouri. We're 825 behind him. Get rid of him. Wendell Daniels, he's not that far behind us. But if you look, we only have 250 points right now to play with. And so we have some extra, I guess, boost for program prestige and all of that coming and being in a pipeline state and all that. So I only gave him 100 points. Now, like I said, in doing this, we do have to remove some people out. And so that's kind of just the standard process. I would have enjoyed getting him, Mr. Bass there, 78 overall defensive tackle. However, it just wasn't meant to be. We were number 2, but we could never continue to approach, and so he finally signed with someone else. And he's way out of our pipeline also. When you start venturing outside your pipeline, that becomes a little bit difficulty. Like Kevin Roberts, he's an outside linebacker. We only have 150 points to spare. We're 575 behind him. So once again, if we can get a big win over Alabama since we lost to Georgia, that could definitely help us out. But that's kind of how we have to look at this. Like I said, we're just an offensive coordinator, so I didn't want to make the scouting be the primary focus of this series right now. Once we become a head coach, then yes, it will definitely become something that we have to look into and that we do make a focus for us. That's just the way it's going to be. And so that's kind of what we're looking at, which is why this is just a one episode kind of, once over. And take a look at what our team needs are, right? So we have quarterback pretty well filled. Paul Green, he's just a junior, so he has one more year as a senior because, well, let's face it, he's not playing well enough to go pro this season. he's decent, but he's just not well enough to go pro. That's all I'm saying. I ain't saying, but I'm just saying. So he's got some good things that we need, and he's doing okay. But we got that position covered, especially with Javon Scott coming in. I do want to try and get a quarterback, a good, young, athletic freshman quarterback, ideally, is who we could bring in. And so I do want to pull him because at that point, you know, if you get a good freshman quarterback to sit for one more season behind Paul Green, that development that he can get can launch him up and above Javon Scott and actually push us to that next level as an offensive team. So that's kind of what we were looking at. Now, you see some of these lower level guys, you know, like Gary Bean right here, defensive tackle, 65 overall. We have a decent lead on him. The next school is Utah, which is kind of weird for a guy that's right there in our home state.
I saw it. I just thought it was an old message that came through
Seriously?
USC,
yeah, seriously.
and Carolina.
No, we have groceries.
Okay, I'll do it.
South Carolina, along with Missouri. So some of them make sense, but a couple of those teams didn't really. Now, Stephen Williams, 69 overall safety. We are in competition against some big schools. So if we can snatch him up, that would be a pretty big pick. Same thing with Thomas Glover, 78 overall defensive back. You know, our defense has played strong for us without our turnovers against Georgia, you know, providing Georgia only had to go 20 yards to score points. I think our defense has had a pretty dang good season. Sorry about that. Pretty dang good season. And it's not where we need a whole lot of focus, but if we can just start building that up, get that depth, that prepares us even more so for the future. Now, guard Tim Vogel is a 69 overall, good speed. Pretty good strength at 80. His agility is 69, stamina 76. But look at those blocking stats. Pass block 76, impact 75, and like run block 76. So he's got pretty good blocking skills, and we are in the lead with him. Now, Eric Watts is someone I would love to get, but we're pretty far behind on him as a 79 overall center. That would be just outstanding. Kind of see how that one goes. Now, Mr. Bo Bates here, looking at the other side of the ball. We're pretty well behind him, but I think since our visit is later than everybody else, we have potential to, I think, steal him. However, man, when you're down by, over 600 points halfway through the season, I don't think we're catching back up to him. Right. Now, Tim Green is a 76 overall safety. So I know you're probably asking why you getting a 76 if you're eyeing a 69 so much. Once again, depth. That's really what it amounts to. We have guys who can be punt returners. We have guys who can fill in other slots. And that's one thing that getting guys from multiple positions really allows us to do. Now, Philip Hurst, a 79 overall defensive tackle. I just can't let him go, is what it amounts to. I do really just kind of keep my fingers crossed somehow we'll change that. However, looking at our team needs, defensive-wise, we're covered, I think, pretty well. Dave Barber, we are in the lead with him. Same thing, Kevin Green. Now, James Evans, we do have a visit scheduled a little bit later in the season, just a minor lead over Ole Miss, which is kind of surprising. Joe Roach, another safety, a 4-star safety, only trailing by 35 points. So I do push him up to get the additional pointage for him, just so I can try to bring him in. Like I said, the more guys, the better that we can get brought onto this team. Philip Hurst, Patrick Jenkins, we are trailing pretty far behind them, so at this point it's just time. 1,000-point deficit. It's time to move on. The dude's going to Washington. Just got to accept that fact, right? So defensive-wise, I think we got a lot of stuff covered. Offensive line is still where we need to make sure we hit the recruiting hard. That's going to be the biggest thing kind of moving forward, because whether we get a young quarterback or Javon Scott continues to be our starting quarterback, it's going to require a decent offensive line to actually be able to protect them. Josh Levine, another strong safety, another 4-star. Let's just keep adding on those points, keep trying to bring them in. That is the big thing for what we need. Now, Eric Watts, I'm going to go ahead and boost him up. There's Rutgers above us. He's only a 3-star, but he's a high enough rated, right? Now, Tim Vogel is a 69 overall, but we do have the lead with him. And so that's kind of my theory is, if we are in the lead or we're approaching the lead, let's hammer them with the points. If we're far off the lead to start, maybe give them a few, just hope that performance-wise over the season we're able to turn them essentially into someone that has interest in our school, right? Now, these lower level guys, we do have the lead on. I don't strain in adding points to them. I give them a little bit of something just because it's nice to be wanted, you know. You can't just leave these guys out in the cold sitting there for nothing. Still got to fill in some spots. But that's just me personally. Now, Justin Russ, once again, he's in Georgia, which is one of our pipeline states. So it's not surprising that we're down by 50 to Georgia Tech, but I think we can just overcome that. And now if you look, Mr. Paul Ware, defense at cornerback. It says we're in a battle with him. However, 385-point separation kind of, for me personally, leans to be not in a battle so much. Kicker, obviously you got to have a kicker, right? I mean, you don't think you need to have a kicker till you don't have one, and then you realize, oh, crap, that is something we've been missing. Those 3 points and those extra points are pretty damn valuable. So here's just finally looking at some of the scouting, and that's something I probably need to focus on coming into next season. I would say definitely a lot more than what I kind of have this season in terms of being able to view everybody, because that really does help us try to find those hidden gems that we get, along with basically what amounts to the bust. And we've found some of those. I can tell you that through hitting these scouting functions, some of these guys we have found to be big-time busts. Steve Miller, boom, right there. Look at that. He was projected basically 74. After we finished scouting, drops all the way down to 69. So that's what I'm talking about when I say look for busts, look for guys that could possibly be gyms, is when things like that occur, right? James Washington, 69 overall guard, finished scouting. Look at, boom, another bust, all the way down to 61. Now we are in the lead for him, and it's a 1,000-point lead, but kind of want a 69 overall guard, at least starting out as a freshman. So when I found out he's only 61, I dropped the points from him down, just figuring I can try to spread them out somewhere else. Wendell Daniels coming in at 67, get him finished scouting. He's actually a 69 overall, speed increase, agility, and his spectacular catch also shot up. So we do add some points to him. And get a scholarship offered as well. Hopefully that'll give us that little edge over Syracuse that we were needing. So ready for visit, Ryan Smith, 63 overall running back. He's not 100% scouted just yet. So I'm not going to worry about really when I put him in on a visit. Just want to get him something set up to where, you can tell at this point he doesn't have anybody else he's scheduled for a visit. So that's what I mean. I'm not going to stress too much about all of that stuff. And so once again, we went from 35 is how we started, 35 prospects. Now we are down to 26. As I said, we dropped people off. One, just because we're not close enough. Two, it turns out they really don't have interest. And so that's kind of what we're sticking with at this point. And I think going forward, it should produce a pretty decent class for us. The one thing you do have to be careful with that scholarship offer button is if you hit it on too many low-level guys, some of those higher talented individuals won't sign until later in the season or near the end of it. So if you get your low-level guys to sign early, you have that problem of, no scholarships remaining. So do have to be careful with that and make sure we offer it to the right guys is what we have to ensure that we are doing. So, all right, that looks like that's how we are going to finish this one up. Now, we are going to get ready here for the next episode. If I'm not mistaken, that should be South Carolina and Alabama, 2 back-to-back rough games that we will be playing against top-rated teams. And that would be a big test for us. We failed our last one against Georgia. And that's part of being in the SEC, right, is the test that you have every single Saturday. So that does remind me right there to go ahead and let you know to hit the subscribe button if you have not already, and hit the thumbs up button if you did like our little recruiting special today, as it really does also help out the channel, and we greatly appreciate everything that y'all do for us. Now, I will say this, also hit the bell notification icon for all future Champion Sons content, whether it be NCAA, Madden, we got FIFA going, we got Formula One, and I think eventually coming up pretty quick, we're going to have some baseball action happening as well. So I want y'all to stay tuned for all of that and be notified as we do post more and more content. And so I will see y'all in the next episode with that having been said, as we kick off against South Carolina. But until then, everybody, stay safe and, well, y'all know how it goes. Later, y'all.